We're gonna try for the third time to record this. Yeah, so basically earlier I was having a Discord conversation in the Aria of Sorrow speedrunning channel. Some people were talking about some trouble they were having with practice, and specifically figuring out why a trick they were trying to practice wasn't working for them. And I made the suggestion that it can be very helpful to do practice while recording an input file if you are practicing in bizhawk, which this person was. And so a couple of people asked how one does that, and a couple of people asked what some of the advantages of it are. So I figured I would do a quick recording and try and talk about some of those things. Before I start my own recording to show what I do when I practice this way, I want to go over some of the settings that I use. In the view tab here, I have all the display options showing. So these are all of the things that display here on the left of the screen. I'm actually gonna turn off my Lua scripts. I think those will actually just make it more confusing right now. But I am going to leave the RAM watch up here. If you're in the Aria of Sorrow speedrunning community, you probably know what this is already. It's just pinned in that Discord channel. If you're not part of that community, just know this is a bunch of just like commonly useful values, like RAM watch values for Aria of Sorrow in particular. For what I'm about to do here, the only one that really matters is this first one, the RNG value. I'll talk about how that matters a little bit later on, but just know that this is like a way that I can see information that normally isn't immediately available on screen. Obviously, just for practice, you wouldn't have this up during a real run. That's the RAM watch. It's these settings. So there's more settings that are very important. There are a couple hotkeys that are really important. Sorry, that noise is awful. Let me pause the game before I continue. So in hotkeys, there are, of course, your save state hotkeys. You want to know what these are. So it's these first 10 are save. These next 10 are loading. I believe this is just the default setting, so it's shift and one of the numbered function keys to save a save state, and it's just the function key to load a save state. When you are recording an input file, you get a brand new set of quick saves that are specific to that input file. So currently, I have 10 save states here. When I start recording an input file, it is going to give me an entire new set of those. Anything I do in that input file is not going to overwrite the save states that I have currently. And the same will be true if I make a second or third input file. All of those, will have their own set of save states. So that's one advantage, is that you get 10 new quick saves that you can use without having to resort to naming saves in order to keep them permanently. Other hotkeys that matter are frame advance and pause. Those aren't too important for the actual practice you do. So pausing is just pausing the emulator. You can see I just stopped it. Now it's going again. Now it's stopped. Frame advance is similar, except I can advance one frame at a time. It also pauses the game, so you have to this is the main reason you have the pause hotkey, so that you can unpause it after you use frame advance. Obviously those are really useful for seeing if something is possible, but it's also really useful for setting up your practice saves. I'll show you a bit of that later on. And the last hotkey that is really important is... Nope, I did it again. I need to pause the game before I before I open any of these menus. I apologize. The last hotkey that really matters in the movie tab is toggle read only. This is the most important hotkey for making the most out of practice you do using an input recording. Um, Also, kind of useful is this one down here, play from beginning. You can see I don't have it. I don't actually have this bound because I only recently realized that it's useful, and I just am used to not using it for years and years. The reason this is useful is that if I had this bound, I would essentially have an extra save state available to myself. Because what this does is it literally just brings you to the start of the movie file, just immediately. Um, Usually, I just as soon as I start recording something, I make a save state at the start so that I can get back there very easily. This hotkey would just replace that and let me use that save state for anything else. So if you're doing this, I recommend you do that. So that's everything there. And I can actually go in now and show you what I would do, for example, if I wanted to practice the Manticore Manip to get the Manticore Soul every time in an actual run. So to start off with, before I actually do this, I need to switch to the Creaking Skull. And I think that's all the setup that's needed. So we'll go ahead and actually make our movie file first. Let me, again, pause the game so that it doesn't make horrible noises when I open the menus. So we're going to record a movie file. We need to swap record from to now instead of power on. If you do power on, it's going to reset the game, and it's actually going to clear your save file as well. I think save RAM does it from power on without clearing your save file. I'm not sure about that. I actually haven't used save RAM in like a decade. But now basically makes a save state here at this current location, and we'll play the movie from there. So I'm going to make this Manticore Manip demo. I, I don't know why it just saved my RAM watch. Okay, we'll try that again. I did something weird there. Manticore Minute demo. It already exists because I already tried to record this once and failed. So we're just gonna do that again. All right. So now we have a new. Input file record. You can see like the frame counter and the lag counter and all that other stuff reset to 0. As I said before, I'm going to just like flush out all my save states and just have them all set to here. You don't have to do that. I just prefer to. And we can get started for now. So I'm going to unpause the game. There's nothing in this like first area that I actually intend to practice, so we're just going to kind of breeze through to start off with. Bump, bump. That should work. Cool, and we're here. So this is where the manip actually starts. We reset to the main menu, which resets our RNG value, which you can see over here on the RAM watch. It resets it to this value. It'll reset it to this value every single time. And that is the most important aspect of how this manip works. So I'm going to make a save state right before I enter. And an obvious advantage to doing practice. So now you can see I made a mistake. I was talking too long. I didn't like start doing the manip. So I can go back and I can do this from here. One of the really useful things about... So right now I'm manually replaying this and doing it, and let's just pretend I made a bunch of mistakes here and whatever, it doesn't matter. So what makes it really useful to record an input file is that I did part of that correctly. I did the first room of the manip correctly. All you have to do is hold right. It's not difficult to, but I don't need to manually redo that. I can toggle on read-only mode, reload that save state, and you can see now, if you look in the corner here, it's it's saying that the frame counter is 2367 out of 4115. So 4115 is the total length of the like failed attempt that I just did basically, and it's going to replay through that whole thing on its own. So now it's going, and I'm not playing, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make a save state in here to do my practice, right? So I didn't have to replay anything, and now I have this nice save state in here. Okay, obviously this isn't actually a good save state. I can't use it here. I'm also pretending, by the way, that this is like a more involved room and that it's actually, you know, maybe difficult to get the right save state that I need. This is where frame advance and pausing the game comes into play. So I can frame advance while this is replaying. So now I can get the perfect save state to practice this next section. And I'm going to do it right here. I'm going to make a save state as soon as we start loading the next room. So that's where the power of frame advance and toggling read-only mode comes into play. You can get the perfect save state for your practice very easily. So to go back into actually practicing, I just make sure that I'm in read and write mode, and then I load the save state. And now you can see the like /41 whatever is gone now, and we're back into actually playing. So I can go back to doing whatever I want. So that's all useful. I'm going to do an actual attempt of Manticore Minute now. No idea if I can get it. We'll see. So you can see I went a little too slow there. So let's say, so I can now go back in read-only mode. And I can actually look at this, and I can watch it back, and I can see where I went fast and where I went slow. So, for example, let's look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can look at this, and we can see the tail's coming. I get this creaking skull refresh. I barely get that backdash off before the tail hits me. So I know that if I'm playing this back, I want to make sure I'm doing that sequence faster. I gave myself almost no time here. So there's part of it. I jump back, and now I'm looking at this last part. I know I need to get 2 whiffed slashes before Manticore dies. And I'm looking at what happens, and I'm looking at this, and that was just a really unnecessarily high jump. So I know that what I screwed up here is just bad jump slashes. So now that I know what I did wrong, I know what to focus on. So I'm going to unpause. I'm going to switch back to read and write mode, and I'm going to try this again. And there you go. I got it. Nice and easy. But you probably noticed that last slash I did was a grounded slash. That wastes time for no reason. So let me go back and let's see if I can do that end sequence again without that grounded slash. So I'm going to wait for this backdash. The reason I'm choosing this backdash is because it's a period of time where unless I cancel this by jumping out, the game isn't going to actually accept my inputs for anything. Jumping out is the only input that will actually do anything. Actually, attacking would also do something, but just holding forward on the D-pad, which is what I'm waiting for, will wait out until the end of the backdash on its own. So I'm going to make a save state here. This is going to be save state 5. And now I can go back into read and write mode, unpause. This is going to be a little tricky. There's not a lot of time to react here, but now I can go back into it. Ooh, jeez. Ooh, maybe this is a bad save state. Hold on. Ooh, I think this is a bad save state. All right, never mind. This is a bad save state. So let's try this again. We'll go into read-only mode. All right, so I do the refresh. Cool. So now I'm going to do this at the very start of the backdash instead. Give ourselves a much nicer save state to work with. Unpause. And here we go. Yeah, I haven't left myself a lot of time here. Okay, yeah, so we're starting to get it now, right? And I'm noticing from doing this that if I want this to work, I can't actually just wait until the end of this backdash to do anything. That doesn't give me enough time to get my 2 whiffed slashes. So I'm actually now canceling the very end of it to make sure I have enough time. And now I'm getting it pretty consistently. So now that that's working out. Oops, I didn't get it there. I got it there. And that's overall, that runs one that I'm pretty happy with. So I'm actually going to save. I like to save just like either slot 10 or slot 9 or slot 9 and 10, kind of at the end of the section that I'm practicing. So now, even if I go back and practice other things, I can always, so let's say I come back to, oops, I didn't even load the right save state here. So let's say I come back here. If I want to play back what happened now, I can't, right? Like I can't load read-only mode and like load save state 5 or 4, which are the ones that I was trying to work with. However, if I go back to read and write mode, I load my save state from after I had done everything correctly. Now I can toggle read-only mode back on, load save state 5. Oh, save state 5 wasn't actually the one that I wanted to use. It was save state 4. And now I can actually watch this back. And I can look, was this actually all that fast? Or was it pretty slow? And, I can look at, I can frame advance and like pick some milestone during the fight as like to time myself on how fast it was. I'll go for the actual kill frame here. This is a little late, but like, yeah, this was a 3280. And so if I do another attempt, I can compare it to 3280 and see like, was it faster? Was it slower? Let's do one right now. So I'll go back to read and write mode, load here, do that, this. Oh, I actually went too fast there. And so, okay, so that was another one where I went too fast. So, and I can prove to you that I went too fast, in fact. So if I go through all this, get that. So I am going to save state 5 right here. Then I'm going to go forward to after it missed and make save state 6. So now I can load save state 5. And I can show you. So I'm in save state 6. Oh, save state 5 is actually too soon. Unfortunate. Or save state 5 was actually a little bit too late. So let me come back here once again. All right, so we're gonna make save state 5 right here instead. And save state 6 is still gonna be where it was. And so if I go into read and write mode and I do this again, you can see if I reload it and I keep doing this slash as early as possible, it's not gonna work. But as soon as I do it even a little bit later, I get the soul. And now I can save this as save state 7, and I can keep alternating. Like I can load save state 7 and then toggle read only, pause and go back to save state 5. We can look in frame advance and see what happens. see that I get the blue soul. Now I can go back, read and write mode, load save state 6, read only. Now I can look at what happened on this one, and I can see I swung the base lard like way earlier. And in fact, it turns out that the difference here that matters is let me load 7. Let me load the one where it worked. And what's actually going to matter is watch Creaking Skeleton pass by this rotating skull. You can see that little collision mark, and then I jump and do the slash. The slash actually starts 2 frames before you see this. So the slash did actually start before it hit Manticore. Now, if I go back to the one that failed, so read and write, quick state 6, read only, save state 5. Now you're going to see my second slash starts all the way back here. And then it hits there, and then it hits Chimera, and it doesn't work. So, I'm able to use that to figure out exactly what the mistakes are. And in cases like these, this was something that I actually, I didn't know the mistake ahead of time. This is genuinely something that I used, my input file and save states like this to figure out exactly what happened. And there we go. And actually, if I go back to read and write mode, I mentioned earlier that I can like compare my 2 runs. So you can see this. I actually don't know if this is. I don't know how early I made that save state. So let me check that. Yep. Okay, I stopped moving, but this is like a 3390. And if I load my earlier success and I play it back, you can see this earlier success was a bit slower. Granted, I was running away from the soul, so like whatever. But the point is that like you can use all of these things to really quickly work out mistakes or to compare different options, right? Like I could figure out how much slower that is compared to, for instance, I can try not not doing the creaking skull like double R presses. If I even remember how to do this pattern. I don't actually remember how to do this pattern. Hold on. Nope, wasn't like that. Nope, not like that. I don't actually know how to do this without the thing anymore. So I can use this as a chance to relearn it. Cool, got it. So that's an example. And I can now use this if I save this in slot 9. If you remember, slot 10 is still the earlier attempt that was using, that was doing that properly. 10 is this one back here. And I can actually, now I can replay it and I can compare, these are actually 2 different strats, and I can compare just how much faster each one was. So this one kills at about 3280, and then, oops, and then this one, which was the slower strat, kills at about, I don't know, it's probably going to be like 33 something. Yeah, 3320. So this is 40 frames slower. Just simple things like this you can time. The last like few minutes of this video kind of got rambly. But I hope this shows some of the things that I like to use this style of practice for. It's really easy to just set this up because literally just whatever point you were already going to make your first save state, you can just start recording an input file and you can do everything that way. And now, let's say that I just had like an impossibly good Manticore fight, and like I really wanted to share it with everyone. I haven't missed out because I wasn't already recording. You know, I can go back to the start of the fight and I can just, record it now. Or let's say, somehow I get both the Manticore Soul and some like rare item drop, and I didn't know that was possible. I don't think it is possible, but let's imagine that that happens. Like I can replay this and I can figure out the exact frames that I pressed certain inputs. I can look at what the RNG value was at all of those frames. Like I can really sleuth out what happened when something unexpected goes on. So I'm going to end this video here. I probably the last 50% of this didn't need to actually be recorded. I probably got the point across way sooner than that, but I'm going to stop this, upload it to YouTube. Anyone who's watched this point, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if you have any questions or suggestions or anything, feel free to post a comment here or ping me on Discord if you know where to do that, and I'll answer anything as best as I can. Again, the whole point of this was I made this recommendation in a conversation, and people weren't immediately sure how to do it and why it was useful. So hopefully I've conveyed at least a small bit of that, and also the fact that it's like not hard to do, right? You just file movie, record movie, and then like you haven't lost anything over anything you would normally do in practice. There's no trade-off. You are just strictly gaining options here.